Is up, everybody? My name is Dane Thompson. Welcome back to another episode of BurnDown. So, it's been a little bit. We've skipped out on a few videos. Had some personal things going on, but I feel finally much better. I'm not back to 100, but I can get back on here, be myself, and actually function somewhat normally and have a good time. Anyways, what I'd like to do today is give you guys a tour of the Twinnebago, because last you saw I was just thrashing on it. I was like, oh, I'm going to start it live, which none of you showed up for, by the way. But it was a holiday weekend, and apparently, I don't know if people got the message or nothing, because everybody's like, hey, I've never seen anything. But let's kind of go over this thing and show you guys, because I just took it from non-runner to pulling on a cord and doing laughs at my buddy Reed around the block. Let's take a look at that. We got a little bit of work to do today as well, and we'll bring you along for that. So, first and foremost, ta-da! There she is! Rock and roll, baby. So, let's crawl right under here. Still haven't strapped anything down, but the battery is in position. I need to lock it in so it doesn't cruise around. And that one was there, it's just dead. But anyway, that's our new guy. Those are our positive leads. You can see I don't have anything plugged in. I got one of the chassis grounds there. I got another one to the back of the motor as well. Roll around to the front. You guys have pretty much seen this over and over. Today what we're gonna do is we're gonna make some lines and plumb all this stuff. And then I just plugged this guy into that guy thinking it might help something, but in all reality, I don't think it really does. Anyway, got the blankets on. This goes to the back. All these dudes are here. I made this hard line for the blow-off valve that goes in the manifold. We made a new stainless crossover water pipe. Doesn't touch nothing. It goes up with some silicone couplers. I've got the heater core still blocked off, but we are going to run a heater at some point. What else did we do? We've got this is all plumbed, but I plumbed it backwards, so now this hose is short, so we got to get new hoses made. We'll get there. I don't know if you can see up there, I got my bicycle cable to my throttle pedal. I think you guys have seen the majority of that stuff. Well, let's go in here, give you a quick tour. So now we actually have a throttle pedal. We've got this new boy here because I modified the original shifter, which is right here. This dude. So we had this in here. I modified it. If you watch the video, I was kind of having issues with it, and Reed had more problem with it than I had. Go all the way, go now, just push it to the right and then up to where it hits that piece, all the way up. But like the following weekend, I came out here to do some test driving and stuff, and then this thing just wouldn't go into gear, and I figured it's probably better that I'm able to access all the gears. So now this is a Winters Sidewinder. It goes through all the gears. The only thing that kind of sucks is it hangs down a little here. Obviously you gotta button these dudes up too, but it hangs down a bit. So we'll have to see, you know, this cable is pretty rigid. So we'll see how the cover, I got the cover over there, but I think that that's gonna kind of be a pain in the butt, but we will address that, I guess. Yeah, because like I said, this thing doesn't, it'll move, and then I got some slack. I got it buttoned up here, so we will see how that goes. Anyway, throttle bracket, eBay, and then I'm actually gonna work on designing one of these. I have an idea to make this a little bit better. I'll let you guys in on that when we get further along. I put new plugs and wires in the other day, and then I just safety wire tied them. I got some heat shields because my exhaust is real close on that side. Other than that, this is all pretty similar. So you got the wires coiled up here. These are ins and outs. We're gonna adjust that today because we need to do some boost control. Here is the final mounting for the computer. There was a filter right here that used to come through the floor, so I just opened it up. So all the wiring for this is run underneath the Twinnebago, which makes it a pain in the butt to do the wiring on. And that is pretty much that. We got this thing just secured, it's pretty loose. And I think that's a tour of what you guys didn't really get to see. So I would say 99% majority of the stuff was me laying underneath this thing and doing wiring, like all the main wiring, all that stuff is all underneath there. The line lock does function because when Reed was over, he was touching it, making it click. I do not have the line lock hooked up. I do not have the sensor, the content sensor for the 85 hooked up yet, but I need to get a good 91 tune before we even throw that in anyway. Although Apple did give me the plug and play setup for that, so that thing's actually plugged in. It's just not hooked in the computer yet. And then I don't have boost control, so pretty much all the extra stuff you need to run to the computer is not done. So what we're going to focus on today, drove it around yesterday because I finally got my USB, my splitter cable, so I was monitoring things, tweaking the tune a little bit, kind of refining it as best I can. Again, I'm not some super tuner, and I'd like to have my boy KP Fab at some point. He's so busy, I just feel terrible asking him to like come over and roll around on my Winnebago and help me tune it. So I'm gonna get as far as I can. I'll probably email stuff back and forth with him, but regardless, the thing I noticed, twofold. Mainly it was a fuel issue I had yesterday, and the fuel pressure was dropping when the boost was coming up. I got to like 5 pounds just cruising around here, and that's because I have a 1-to-1 regulator. It's supposed to, when it puts boost to it, it'll up the pressure. I don't have that plugged in, so we're gonna plumb that today. I'm gonna share that with you guys. If it works, I'm gonna feel like a genius, and if it doesn't, then back to the drawing board. And I have 2 different ways I can do it, but I'm hoping the first one works because we'll just look awesome, and then maybe you guys can use it for future, for your turbo motorhomes. And then the second thing I noticed is fuel slosh. I've got an in-tank pump. Initially, right out of the gate, I put 4 gallons in. We drove it a bunch to where it was cutting out, I think in that one video. So I put like 4 more gallons and then it stopped, but all the roads around here go up and down. But you figure, I mean, I had less than 10 gallons. I blew through, I don't know how many, just idling and screwing around. And then I only put 4 more gallons. I've been driving it on whatever it has in the tank, and it probably can't have that much fuel. So when the fuel pressure would just basically go away and then the thing would die, it's because of fuel slosh. It has to be. So we're gonna put a bunch more fuel in the tank before we screw around and try to tune it more, because obviously if you're starving it for fuel, you're not gonna do a good job tuning, and you could possibly hurt things, especially when boost starts coming online. So we want to make sure we got plenty of fuel to get this thing fed. So let's go, man. So that is it. On with the show. Let me show you what I got. We're gonna run some poly line for the fuel regulator. I got that over here and I got a fitting, and I'm gonna show you how I'm trying to be a genius. It's probably not gonna play in my favor, but I'm gonna try anyway, right? All right, so here's my poly line, and then I have these compression fittings. So they didn't have a coupler, but if they would have had just a straight coupler, that would have been best, I think. But they did have 2 of these. So this one is a female and then a male thread that threads in. So this is where I wanted to run the poly line. All right, got it off. So this has a bolt in it because I drilled it out. Some of these come with a hole. Actually, well, the ones with the hole usually have a provision for a hose, so you run, you know, your booster pressure off of this, your manifold, your vacuum, and then one like this, it was just plugged up. A lot of these are plugged up, especially on the Hydro Boost applications and whatnot. So there's a big port right here, and I have this one, and I was thinking a silicone line, but this stuff is like super cheap. It's Fort Air. I've used it on other things, and I figured if I could plug it in there, that'd be cool. So initially, I was gonna like drill and tap this because 1/8 inch MPT I think would fit, but then it'd be real thin. And I'm like, man, this thing's gonna be super thin. What can I do? Well, it turns out that this is roughly the same circumference as this, and it's nice and smooth. I figured, hell, dude, that would seal against an O-ring. So then it was just a matter of depth. So literally, when you push this in, it gets to this line, and then right past that is where this O-ring, there's an O-ring in there that seals. Well, what I'm going to try to do is just pretty much jam this in there and then get it to this portion on the O-ring so it seals. And then we'll just plug our poly line in, run it back, and we are going to be heroes. So that is my plan. And if that doesn't work, I will just unthread this part, we'll drill this out, drill and tap it for 1/8 inch MPT, and then we'll just use this part. But I already checked lengthwise and everything. We're just going to stab this guy in here, and maybe I'll just put a little bit of grease on here so it slides in, and then that should seal. And then we'll just look awesome because that thing will just be in there, and plug it in, and Bob's your uncle. All right, we got Donald Duck out. We'll cold start real quick. Oh, I need the We'll just see if there's a vacuum leak. We'll just try that. It'll probably be obvious if it doesn't want to run, right? Let's see what she does. That way you can fall down into the engine bay. There you go. Alright, it's at 62. Oh no, where'd my line go? Okay, so it's at 62. I plug this in. So that's sealed up, at least for the most part. So now we're at 53. Heroes, baby. Nice. All right, well, we're heroes. That worked. No reason to make it all smoking hot. I gotta crawl underneath there, probably throw down a few more zip ties, but I am excited that worked. On to plumbing the boost controller. So now that we've got that out of the way, the fuel, so it will bring the fuel in with boost, I think we're gonna focus on installing this. So this is a Holley 3-port boost control solenoid. KP Fab gave me this after I had issues in Vegas. He's like, oh, I got one, don't worry about it, because I wasn't sure if the Mac valve I had was working properly or not. I had this in my car. It functions well. That's why I'm going to use it. The leads are also short because we had other boost issues, and I cut it out and put a different one in here actually. So that one works as well, and this one works. So I'm going to wire this one in, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going to run hardline and AN fittings for my boost control for the turbos. Typically it's like the poly line, or sometimes it's at silicone. I just want this so it's a set it and forget it. Once this is in and sealed, it should hopefully not have any issues and be good for long term. Same thing with this. This had the plastic lines and stuff in it. I'm gonna get away from all that stuff. And namely because on this there's dome control, you're supposed to run a sensor. And I was like, oh, maybe it's cooking it, and then I was gonna get it off of the wastegates and all that stuff. But I'm also going to go map-based boost control instead of dome pressure. So I'll show you guys. We'll probably make that a separate video. It's been done. Apple's done it. Everybody on the internet has done it. But that way I don't have to run a sensor into my dome. And we can just run all the hard lines. It should be far enough away that the heat's not going to transfer and cook this guy. And then this won't have an issue living on wastegates. So hopefully it's kind of just a, like I said, set it, forget it deal. It's going to be more effort to put in. It'll look fancy, but also it'll function well. And then at some point, when we get past that, these are the water fittings, so we're still going to water cool it as well. So I got some fancy fittings. I'll show you guys how I'm going to go about trying to do that. That's what this is for. So I have a whole another mess of fittings. We got these guys. Let's get to plumbing the boost control, shall we? All right, give you guys a look at this. So we got our fittings in with the females attached. And then this is where I'm gonna run the boost controller. I realized I screwed myself because it's mounted already. And you notice it's not hard mounted. These things they don't like to be hard mounted for some reason. At least from what I gather, they're always like rubber mounted. So I just use a couple little zip ties, and then the lines will kind of hold it in place, and then that way it's got a little bit of wiggle room. Yeah, super short leads, so it looks like I will be wiring this right there, but it was such a pain in the ass to put it there that I'm okay with that. So now we'll just have to connect this to these bad boys, and then I'll run some wires. We'll just go from here into the old hole there and over to the computer. And I think that'll be the easiest way to do it. We'll just go up and over. We'll figure that part out, but let's get some lines done. Man, that was a pain. I had to move the seat and everything. Terrible. I'm just gonna take 3 different T's, and then I'll show you where the pressures go. So we plugged one turbo off. This turbo has a fitting, so this is compressor side. So this will go, and this will tee off onto these, which will tee into the bottom, and then one will go up to the boost control, and then these guys will come up, tee off to one, and then those will go to the other side of the boost control. So this basically regulates how much pressure gets pushed to the top of that. So when this is pushing against the bottom trying to open it, this one is basically counteracting that to hold it shut for a certain amount of boost, and then it opens up and then lets it go, so that way you can maintain a certain boost pressure, if that makes sense. So we'll bring you along, but essentially this guy's really not controlled. This turbo is basically going to control both gates, essentially, is what's happening. I also chose this because it's close, lines will be short, and this is a guy that's actually getting the O2 signal as well. Not that that matters, but that was my rationality.
Eventually.
All right, well, we have success. Took me a couple hours to get it done. I think it's worth it. I'm hoping this is like a permanent solution to the boost controller deal. I know you can just use the push lock stuff. I've used that on the Malibu, but I've also had it have issues, namely because I had to plug into the wastegates. So that was why I kind of want to do it this way. So that way, all the stuff that goes in the wastegates, the aluminum doesn't care about the heat, and then the boost controller is far enough away that it shouldn't affect the boost controller itself anyway. So check it out. Bing. All right. So that is a look at everything. So recap, this one's plugged. Pressure side goes into the T. This T goes into these guys, which is on the lower gate. So this pushes on the lower gate, trying to open it. And then what's keeping this closed is these go up and they T, and this guy goes all the way up to the boost control. So this side is feeding it, this side is keeping it closed, and then this modulates how much it vents to the atmosphere. So we will get into wiring next round, and that is that. So clears this. I'll throw the bumper on, give you guys a look at it pretty much when we get out of here, but it clears everything. You won't really be able to see all the hard work back here, but we can tighten it all up, throw the bumper on, and we should be rock and roll. So that is that. You guys know what to do. We will make this a two-part series, by the way. So now that it's hooked up, I'll show you how to wire it, and then we will see if the damn thing works, hopefully pretty soon here. So you know what to do. Like, subscribe, share. I'm out.